I'm gonna do the thing. We knew that, right? Okay, let me see if I can just get this in one swell swoop here. We may be onto something. we may have learned this particular curve. Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Abby Haggard. And I have my trusty mug of warm beverage, which I'm about to take a celebration sip of. And I invite you to join me with whatever you choose. Okay. So a funny thing happened when I grew up. I kind of grew up with people who were there and not there. They would come and they would go. I grew up in a community, in a way of life, thanks to the military, where we came and went. We were in a place and then not in a place, and then in some other place. And one of the most consistent, recurring, frantic issues I had was the very strong feeling that people couldn't hear me, that they either weren't paying attention in any way about anything, or they were busy, or they had better things to do. And it was terrifying. I'm an only child, and we kept moving to different places. And the idea that I couldn't make myself heard was cataclysmic for a long time. And I want to talk about that today because it is part of something that scares all of us from time to time. I mean, the interesting thing about social media that I recognized quite early because of my background is that people are on social media to find a way to be heard, to be seen, to be valued, to be recognized, to be included, to feel safe, important, part of. It is the easiest way we have. It is the least expensive way we have, and we can just do it on our phone, or we can do it on a computer. We can do whatever. What we are looking for is the feeling that we are connected, and that we are connected because we matter. Without that, we don't know who we are and what to do and why get up in the morning. So the reason I got good at it, as I say, is because I had a lot of practice, and um, I, I'm not hardwired to give up. I'm hardwired to figure out, if I'm up to my neck in it, there's got to be a pony in here with me, and I'm going to ride that pony out of here as soon as I find him. Um, I I don't believe somebody's going to ride to my rescue. Because they didn't, and so if then. So what I'm doing all the time is I'm looking for the best, simplest, easiest, most direct way to navigate out of something unpleasant into something better. I'm always doing that all the time. I was talking with Susan the other day, and I said I'm a navigator and a storyteller, and I use story points, plots, people, characters, attitudes as the dots that I connect to get me where I need to go. If a person is like this, then they'll probably do that. If they do that there because they tend to, then I can rely on that, and I know I can always turn there. I have two stories to tell you about that. When I was a little girl and I was considered old enough and safe enough to walk to kindergarten by myself, one day there was a knock at the door. My mother answered it, and I was standing there with a policeman. And my mother was quite surprised, and she said, "Yes." And the policeman said, "Is this your daughter?" "Yes." "Where did you find her? Why is she with you?" And he said, "Well, I found her on a street corner crying. And I couldn't make sense of what she was crying about. She kept saying that she was waiting to turn at the horse. And I didn't know what that meant, but I got her to tell me where she lived. And so here we are." And so what had happened was my sense of timing and my navigation skills very early were based on landmarks. I didn't know that they weren't permanent. Nothing's permanent in my life. So a landmark is a landmark. And there was always, for some reason, and because it was not that long ago that this makes any sense, but there was always some sort of a delivery guy. It might have been a calash. It might have, I don't remember. I was that small, but there was always this carriage, this cart with a horse every time my mother and I walked me to school. And we always turned at that corner. So I had walked that day and I was either early or late, or they were early or late, and the horse wasn't there. So I just kept walking. And then eventually I realized I'd gone too far and I didn't know what to do. So I just stopped and I stood there and I was very upset. And policeman came along. So I had heard the instruction, but I didn't have the skill to apply it in the right timing, in the right moment. And so, I grew up and if I was late for something, my parents would instruct somebody, or somebody would laugh and say, probably she turned to the horse. And so it became part of my joke, part of my legend. The other story, I was a little older. And the other story, I came home from school, and I think I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. I was all excited because I had something I wanted to ask my dad when he got home. And my mother said, when your father gets home, give him time. But mommy, this is so important and I'm so excited. And I know, honey, I know. And she said, I'm going to get changed. And then when your father gets home, we need to give him time to take off his shoes, to put down his briefcase, to change out of his uniform and get comfortable and breathe. But why? I want to know now. And she said to me, do you want him to say yes to you? And I said, well, yeah. And she said, then wait. Trust me. And I was watching her get changed, and she always looked lovely. And that was the day I realized that she always stopped. She had a thing of an alarm. She stopped whatever she was doing when she saw what time it was, and she would change. She would have a bath and she would change and put on something pretty. Not to dress up to go out, but just something, not housework clothes, not gardening clothes. Put on something pretty. And I don't think it was that day, but I remember asking her one time why she did that. And she said, your father spends all day with professional people who make an effort and show up and look professional. And when your father comes home, when he looks at me, I want him to remember how proud he was and how happy he was that he chose me. I want him to remember that it was special then and it's special now. And I thought my parents used to say these things to me. And at the time, I wasn't old enough to really understand, what they were saying. I remembered them, though, because they were strange. They were different. They were curious. And so I've kept these things, filed away, and then eventually they come up. And good morning, Lucy. And when I have a third story about reading the room. I had a dog. I got this dog from a breeder very inexpensively because she was considered the runt of the litter and they wouldn't be able to show her. One of the agreements that I had with the breeder was that for this incredible price, beautiful dog, they would get one litter from her. So when I brought my dog back to them for the moment, they said, do you want to meet her new boyfriend? And I said, sure. And so they opened a door and from a slut, and this dog came out. This dog was the most handsome dog. Now, my dog was a Samoyed. Samoyeds are beautiful dogs to begin with. They look like Christmas. They're all just perky and fabulous and bouncy, and they have feather boa tails, and they're Abbey dogs, right? Well, this guy came out, and he was very pleased with himself. And he kind of wandered over. How you doing? He wandered over to me and he posed. And then, not making it up, he then turned and posed again. I said to the breeder, this is my good side, and this is my other good side. So and she said, I know, right? So then I got a phone call that night, and the breeder was like she was almost hysterical. She was laughing so hard. And I said, what's happened? And she said, well, Mister, this is my good side, had his moment with your girl. And I have to tell you what happened. And I said, well, okay. And she said, so they had their moment, and he's doing this thing. And your dog walked away 3 steps and threw up. And when they do a breeding, they mate the pair a few times to make sure that it works. She kept calling me. She did it again. He did what he did, and she threw up. And so I've always thought of all of those stories, but the dog story the most special as the illustration of reading the room and not reading the room. So the idea today, talking about why people can't hear us and how do we fix it? It's I've said in the description, it's soul destroying. You know, if we are, excuse me, if we are feeling the slightest bit insecure, if we are confused about something, if we're the new kid on the block, whatever it is, whatever thing is causing us anxiety of some kind, the idea that nobody's listening, the idea that we don't matter, that they can't hear us, is terrifying. We don't know what to do. There are no instructions. Well, there are now, but we're not given instructions. So what I want to talk about today is why people can't hear us. And in some cases, they are not listening. So why aren't they listening? Here I am. I went to all this trouble. And the fact is, we're not reading the room. We are 8-year-old me, terribly eager to ask daddy for a favor. We are not thinking about daddy slogging through the day, getting in the car, making his way home in rush hour traffic. Can't wait to get out of this uniform. Can't wait to get my shoes off. Can't wait to just sit back and say, oh, thank you. Can't wait. And instead, he walks through the door and there's this explosion of small girl child. Daddy, 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 daddy. And he can't handle one more thing until he has a chance to breathe. Why didn't I let him? Because I wasn't listening to his day. I wasn't thinking about him. I was thinking about me. I was thinking about this amazing thing that I couldn't wait to tell him because he's my daddy and I love him and I know he's going to like it and I can't wait. And that he needs a moment before me doesn't mean he doesn't love me. They're not connected. It means he needs a moment. Explosion of small girl child. Caption under every moment of my life. Poof. So the analogy I have about everything that I've learned over time is that there is always a door number 3. When we are in crisis, when we are in pure primitive human, it is fight or flee. It is freeze or hide. It is rebel or comply. It's always one or the other, live or die. But when we have the ability, inner child you, yeah, exploding all over the place. When we have the ability, when we give ourselves permission to take a step back, to put a steadying hand on the top of our head, um, and calm the spin. When we do that, door number 3 is immediately visible. Immediately. Because we're not in a state of panic. We're in a state of purpose. If I want to dance with somebody on the dance floor, I need to pick somebody who wants to dance. If I go over to somebody who does not want to dance and is making it very clear by thought, word, and deed that they don't want to dance, and I ask them to dance and they say no, there is no point in me being upset. There is no, it doesn't make any sense to say, he didn't like me. It had nothing to do with me. He didn't want to dance. Why didn't I look at him and say, I don't know, that doesn't look like somebody who wants to dance. Oh, well, what the hell? And then if I ask and he said, no, no. Then my instinct was right. It had nothing to do with me. Has everything to do in that moment with him. Because how many people are involved in dancing together? That would be the 2. And so if he's not up and doing, if he's not asking, if he's not happy and smiling and involved and doing his thing to the music, probably he's not ready. So Susan and I were, good morning. Susan and I were having a conversation the other day about how do you know when people are ready? And I said, well, if they show up, there's a likelihood that they're readier than if they stay home. If they comment on your social media post, there's a likelihood that they're more interested than the people who don't comment. Although there's lots of people who just scroll by and window shop. There's that. The thing that has always surprised me, because of my upbringing and my tendency to cut to the chase because I don't know how long I have, is that I don't put people through the qualifying curve. I just assume that if they show up, they're ready. I'm so many times surprised that when they show up, they didn't realize it was a working boat. They thought it was a cruise. I can't imagine looking at me and looking at the boat and looking at what's going on, that they thought it was a spectator sport. There's no spectators in my boat. And so I read them wrong, and they read me wrong. And I should have asked more questions. Why? My boat. So in the conversation about this, where we feel lost and forgotten and alone and frightened, why can't they hear me? You're not speaking their language. You're not taking the time to find out who they are. Find out why they came. Find out what's in it for them. Watch their actions, watch their behavior. Give them a consistent message and wait to see a growing, layered response from them. Read their responses, use their responses in the conversation with them, because now you're speaking their language. They feel more confident. They know someone's listening to them. So one of the things that Susan and I were talking about is, I made this post, I've set up this offer, nothing's happening. Okay, so let's look at what's going on. Let's look at what's going on with them. The people who normally say yes to you. Look them up. See what they're saying. See what they're posting. Something's going on. Lots of people are having a difficult time this year. I've been talking to a lot of my clients saying, back in the fall, saying 2024 is going to be a very interesting year. And we need to be more alert. We need to be ready. We need to be watching, paying attention, taking notes, listening, and being gentle. Being gentle to them. Giving them time to take off their shoes, change out of their uniform, put on their comfy pants. Then ask them a question. After they've had time to sit down and go, oh, welcome home. Glad you're home, Daddy. Can I ask you a question? Of course, honey. As opposed to my default, Daddy, 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 you're home, you're home, you're home. I have to show you, I have to show you, I have to show you. Both are equally me. One has a greater likelihood of success. I wonder which one it is. So, why can't people hear us? Are they on the channel that we're on? Have they tuned in? Have they shut off the transmitter? Are they just sitting in the silence? Are they overwhelmed from the last three things? And when we do reach out, are we asking them to do something? Or telling them how awesome it is that they're here? Are we saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was your day? How are you feeling? Were you able to get outside at all? Why would they listen to us if we don't lead by listening to them? Pavlov and the dog story. Pavlov wanted to see if he could train dogs to drool, because drooling is an automatic digestive reflex, salivating, moisturizing the mouth to digest, chew, organize the food. So he rang a bell and put food down. Dogs didn't care about the bell. They saw the food. He did it again. Next day, did it again. Next day, did it again. Over time, he rang the bell and waited. The dogs still came because the dogs had associated the sound with the food, the sound with the smell. He delayed longer and longer, gradually over time, until the only thing he did was ring the bell. And when the dogs came anyway, because they'd been trained, they were salivated. Because the brain had been trained to associate the sound of the bell with the food. And so the brain triggered the production of saliva in anticipation of 1, 2, 3. Bell, food, eat. When Pavlov had done it long enough and he removed number 2, he proved his theory. He could train people to respond with the right stimulus. We can train people to hear us. We can train people to anticipate that hearing us is going to have a positive effect, is going to make us feel good. We can train them. The difficult thing in doing that, the challenge in doing that, is that we don't naturally do it. We don't naturally speak to find out how you are. We speak to declare how we are. The door number 3 option is that if I speak to declare how I am the right way, the people who hear me are glad. If we make them glad, if we make them happy, if we make them feel good, they're going to make the effort to be ready to hear us again. We can train people to want to hear us, to look forward to hearing us. What we have to do to get there is give them the incentive. For Pavlov and the dogs, the bell was not the original incentive. The bell was the trigger mechanism. The bell was first to get their attention. There's only one key rule in marketing, and it always works. get their attention, make them glad they came, so they will choose to come again. That's it. That is the single rule of connection, communication, conversion, and cooperation and collaboration. Get their attention. You have to do something consistent so that they know when it's you. They know when it's you. How do they know when it's you? Because there's always something about what you do that they say, oh, there's Abby. Oh, Abby's done a post. People aren't reading as much, so they're going to look for visual cues. So, my style is stuff that makes you blink, and then it makes you think. And most of the time, there's a laugh in there. The laugh is the positive endorphin. It's the feel good. It's the taste of the food. Makes them salivate for another hit of positive endorphin. If they're feeling good and they learn something, they're excited to learn something again. They're excited to hear from me again because there's something in it for them, feeling good. And so they're now anticipating. I learned that marketing rule when I was very young from a very successful marketing advertising person. And I've used it my whole life. Get their attention. Make them glad they came. Make them want to do it again. How? Because it's all about them. When what you do is all about them, they come back to you. Pavlov fed the dogs. Pavlov added a hook. Get their attention. Ding. They liked the food. They wanted the food. They were used to food. He fed the food. Ding, food. Before it was just food. Now, ding, food. So, sound, food. Food's coming. Can you smell it? No, I heard the bell. Okay. Ta-da. The education system that we still live by was designed to get children ready to live their lives as factory workers, to get them to be okay with that and obedient to it and ready for it. Classes are separated by bells. Yeah, absolutely. I love this. I'm glad you love it. It's so important. So if you separate, if you start school with a bell, people line up. Line up when you hear the bell. Human beings are not wired to line up. So bell, okay. If you don't line up, you can't come in. Okay, we don't care on a nice day, but if it's snowing, okay, we'll line up. There's the incentive. That's what's in it for me, is it's right. Now we go inside. Everybody take off your outer clothes and put them in your locker and line up and wait for the bell. Ding. Okay, go to your class. Going to class. Find your seat. Sit down. Here we're going to do this, 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 and this. We have this many minutes. Ding. Okay, this class is over. Put your stuff away. Go and line up in front of the next class. Ding. Okay, you can go in. Every, 40 minutes? Every 40 minutes? Every 40 minutes, every 5 days a week? For how many years? Okay, we've now taught you that when you hear a bell, you line up because you get to come inside. When you're old enough to get a job, you hear a bell, you line up. The incentive is they're going to pay you. All right, then. When the bell goes at 5 o'clock, yay, I get to go home. Take off my shoes, take off my uniform, sit down and go, oh, thank you. It's a learning curve. None of these things are built without factoring in what's in it for them. What is their with them song? The reason we forget to do that, conversation with Susan yesterday. We forget to do it because we're on the inside of the tent. We have a plan. We have an agenda. We know what we want. Okay, but did you check with the other guys? What? What do you mean? No, I'm going to do this. Yeah. Do they want it? What do you mean? Do they want it? Of course they want it. Why wouldn't they want it? No, you want it. The only person we're sure of is that you want it. How do you know they want it? Why wouldn't they want it? Not the question. Why wouldn't they want it is not the question. Do you know if they want it? No. Why don't you know if they want it? I don't know. How am I supposed to know? You ask, you watch, you listen. There's that famous saying that we're all quoting back and forth to each other, but we're not using it. People tell you who they are. Why don't we listen? People tell you what they want. Why don't we give it to them? Why aren't we listening? If we're not listening to them, why should we expect them to listen to us? Why should we expect them to hear us if we don't lead by example? Because we're busy, because we're inside our tent. We have all the stuff lined up. It's going to be so great. We step outside the tent saying, okay, ta-da, and there's nobody there. Why not? Because you didn't tell them enough. You didn't give them enough reason to get excited. You didn't give them enough time to hear what you're saying. When we have an idea, I mean, I am as guilty of this as anybody. And I have had to recover from it as often as, or more often than anybody. And that's how I know. I wasn't born clever at this stuff. I was born hitting walls and falling down and getting up and saying, ow, that hurt. What? Oh, okay. Start again. Figure out why that happened. Why aren't they listening? Is it me? Nope. How do you know it's not me? Because they're busy. They went on that diet. They were supposed to lose 7 pounds by Friday. They bought new pants. The pants don't fit. They're terrified the zipper is going to pop open all day long. That is what they're listening for. They're not happy. I spent good money on that diet book. You also expected me to read it? Well, I expected you to follow the instructions. If that meant reading it, yes. Well, for God's sake, somebody should have said that. You're right. My pants don't fit. What do you want? Why are you standing there looking at me like that? That's your audience. I spent the most interesting week last week tap dancing in mad, frantic, stupid circles to compensate for lazy, indifferent, them-focused, flawed ideas that cost me money, scared the living daylights out of me, and inconvenienced about 50 people. All it would have taken was one person to look up and say, can anybody hear this? Maybe we should let them know louder. But they were all in their thing. They were in their tent. They were all agreeing with each other. Nobody thought to talk to, listen to, find out, read the room that was full of all the people who are involved in the outcome of their actions. It's a very fragile and scary thing to be brave enough to say, I'm going to start my own business. It's a wonderful, magical, brave thing. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of remembering brand new things we never thought of. Every single person who becomes a client, friend of mine, a colleague of mine, a collaborator of mine, I walk them through this curve over and over and over because it is a process of rewiring the brain, because it's all brand new. We're not born to be standalone rebels. The humans survive by sticking together and creating a tribe. Strength in numbers. Entrepreneurs are rebels. Entrepreneurs are people who say, I got this, catch you later. fearless sometimes, foolish many times, firmly convinced all the time. The idea that if we say over and over and over again, bell, food, bell, food, bell, food, bell, food, bell, food, bell, no food. Was it enough times to make the dog salivate without the food? Maybe not. We don't know how many times he did it until he got it right. But he didn't change the order of it. He didn't say, maybe I'll try a gong. He didn't say, maybe I'll wear a suit that goes when I walk. No. Maybe I'll use a clapper. Maybe I'll use a whoopee cushion. Nope. He used the bell. He used the bell till he was sick of the sound of the bell, and then he kept using the bell. And then what happened? It worked. It worked. He proved that very old saying, success is the product of consistent action repeated over time. That is the formula. If you choose to eat 50 Twinkies every day for a year, every day, Twinkies, every day for a year, you will succeed in getting fat. Guaranteed. If you eat 50 today and you miss 3 days, because frankly, that's a lot of Twinkies, you might gain a little weight, but you can't count on it. If you choose a brand concept, if you choose a brand slogan, if you choose a brand attitude, if you choose a look for the brand, you choose a way that the letters are formed, a little something that they see, the people start looking for that. They start looking for that color. They start looking for that font. They're listening for the bell. If you change up the bell because you're sick of the bell, you've broken the cycle. You've stopped the training. You have to start all over again. Why isn't it working? You stopped doing the right thing, the consistent thing. Why did you change it? I was tired of it. Okay, but you're not selling to you. You're selling to them. They need to be able to hear you. Why aren't they hearing me? Why aren't they responding? Because you keep changing the thing they're looking for. You're teaching them to look for one thing. Do you know what I do? I show people where the steps across the pond are. I show people how to get from here to there. Everybody says, you got to get from here to there. You got to just say yes and do it. People are going, I don't know how to get from here to there. If I knew how to get from here to there, I'd already be there. I'm saying, you want to know how to get from here to there? People say, yes. Good. Walk this way. Let me explain something to you. And then they forget because it's new. Explain it again. I'm going to sneeze. What is a sneeze representing? other than something that is in my breathing thing. Belief, credibility, frustration with messaging, not heard, possibly. Simple action repeated over time. Consistent, simple action repeated over time. When do I stop? Never. Oh my God, you're kidding. Nope. Well, how long do I have to do this? How long do you want to be in business? Are you kidding? Every day? Yeah. When you go down the grocery aisle and you go down the soft drink aisle, there is a reason Pepsi has a certain logo and a certain palette of colors. When you see the Coca-Cola, there's a reason Coca-Cola has a certain font and a certain set of colors. When you see Schweppes There's a reason they've chosen that color. We never think of it. When we decide we want ginger ale, we go where the ginger ale is. When we see the color, we say, oh, there it is. Go get me one of those. See the green? Go get me that. We see the yellow. Oh, yeah. See that? Get me that tonic water. When we go for soup, what colors are they using? The one that you're familiar with. You're not looking for the name because it's too far away. You're looking for the color. So why would they change the color? I guess it's not here. The most famous one is Tide. The big orange and white. If you don't see the orange and white, you think they're not carrying Tide. You don't look to see if they've changed something. For the life of me, I don't understand why they changed the color on Tide Pods. I don't understand that. Makes no sense to me. Somebody thought they had a bright idea. So if you create something consistent, if you use the same hood emblem on a car, you know, I'm kind of a car girl, but I can't recognize a car by its, you know, the grill and the this and the that. I'm looking for the hood ornament. I am a this, I am a that, you know. When I had my BMW, and Dave made me this little flamingo for the hood, and we put the flamingo on the hood. Every BMW owner was mortally offended that I had removed the BMW rondelle. But I'll tell you, everybody knew when I was in town, it's not just any BMW. That was my brand. Why was a flamingo my brand? Because a flamingo is arguably the most frivolous, colorful, exotic, ridiculous creature. It has no natural camouflage unless it's standing in front of pink foam insulation. What is that? It's just hoping that all its predators are colorblind. And the way it walks, you know, like an elegant showgirl, it blows me away. So was that part of my brand? Yes. Yeah. I've got a lamp over there that Charles and Kat bought me, a little neon lamp. And I have a flamingo in my living room. Why? Do I collect flamingos? No, I don't. I don't. The one in my living room has a story. This one is just a sweet gift. What's it for? Because it symbolizes a lot of my qualities. It symbolizes the qualities of Mom, who was, you know, not really connected to anything, and yet unforgettable. So why do I do my branding the way I do? Because everything I am presenting every day is a sample, a tasting menu of what people can expect when they work with me. They get insight. They get humor. They get curiosity. They get laughter. They get something to think about. They get a memorable picture. They get words that I play with. They get all kinds of stuff. And I present that to them as a taster's menu, consistently a little different, consistently a little different, but always underneath it, the same. Always there is a theme. The theme never deviates. I am a navigator. I navigate by story. When you are confused, when it's not making sense, when you feel unheard, unseen, undervalued, the story details, the instructions are a story. The instructions aren't complete. Something in those instructions you are working with is either missing or incorrect. Let's go look. Oh, there it is. Let's fix that and see what happens. We need to change everything, and I need to, no, fix the thing that's broken. Give it a chance. Give people a chance to say, oh, that's better. Give it a chance. Let them learn to listen to you. The most important thing about this process today, this conversation today, is to remember that when we had the idea, they weren't standing next to us. And even if they were standing next to us and we said, I've just had an idea. You want to hear what it is? No, because they hadn't had a chance to take their shoes off, change out of their uniform and sit down and say, oh. So they listened to you and they nodded and they smiled and said, oh, it sounds great. And they went off and did something. Did they retain it? No. Why not? Why didn't they? It's important to me. Don't they know it's important to me? Yes, they do. Let's ask the other question. Is it important to them? Well, it should be if they care. No. Those two things aren't connected. That they stood there and let you tell them is the proof that they cared. That they routinely like the things that you post on social media, whether they actually read them or not. They stopped, they hit a key, they pressed a thing. They took that minimal amount of time to let you know, I'm here for you. I may not be listening. I'm here for you. That's the degree to which they are able to care, willing to care, ready to care, if you don't give them a better reason to care. And the reason has to be about them, not us. They aren't motivated by our Witham song, What's in It for Me? They're motivated by their Witham song. Well, how do I know what it is? Watch them. Watch them. Susan and I were having this great conversation, and she said, it's so confusing. Some of them come to the clinic. They appreciate the procedure. They thank me. It's clear that they needed the procedure, and they're grateful that they received the procedure. And then they don't come back. What happened? And I said, they weren't as ready as they thought they were. How amazing it was overwhelmed them. They need to go and sit down and think about that for a while. It blindsided them. It's one thing to get people's attention. It's the other thing to pull the rug out from underneath them. You know what? They weren't paying attention. They weren't as ready as they thought they were. So that means, once again, 3 doors. Not ready, didn't show up, didn't comment, didn't call, didn't come. Not ready. Okay. They're not ready. Has nothing to do with us. They're not ready. Period, paragraph, new sentence, new page. People who come consistently, they're ready. People who look forward to it, they're ready. People who comment, they're ready. Are they ready to do more than this? I don't know. So far, I haven't asked them to. Sometimes I say, let me know if there's anything you want to ask that I can do. Very few of them reach out because they're not ready for that. They're ready for this. This is the learning curve. This is the discovery curve. At this point, this is the bell with the food. They're not ready for step number 2. If they were ready for step number 2, they would contact me. Those who do contact me, who have and continue to contact me, they're ready. People who say, hey, I'd really love to do this. Yeah. Good first meeting. Way to go. Just need a couple of weeks. I'll get right back to you. Crickets. What happened? What happened was they weren't ready. They thought they were ready. They had that first meeting. They went away and said, maybe later. Gosh, what do I say? Oh, I said yes. No. How do I say no? So they just go away. They're too embarrassed to say, I've changed my mind. Okay. No blame, no shame, no guilt. You said you would get back to me. You didn't say when. Beginning of the month, you didn't say which month. Monday, which Monday? If they're ready, they come. They're only ready if they hear us and what we say to them, because we're paying attention to them, resonates with them, and makes them say, ooh, ooh, what a good idea. They're ready. So door number 1 is not ready. Door number 3 is ready. Middle door, not sure. None of those doors have anything to do with us. It's all about them. Why aren't they listening? They're busy. Well, does that mean they don't love me? No, it means they're busy. Well, are they too busy to love me? Stop connecting those dots. They don't connect. When it's about them, it's not about you. You can't force it to be about you. Did they hear you? No. Okay. Then let's look at what they do. Let's look at what they do consistently. Do they opt in and out all the time? Then this is their normal. Do they have a lot of what will people think of me? Then this is their normal. Did we change the branding so they can't quite find us? They can't quite feel safe with us because it's not consistent? If we did that, that's their normal too. We messed up. We didn't use a bell. We used a buzzer. Dogs didn't know what the hell that was. They didn't come to find dinner. They're waiting for the bell. Do you know how many times Frank Sinatra probably sang My Way? I'm going to go with a whole bunch more than he was really excited to sing. I'm just saying. Why did he have to keep singing it? It had become his signature song. People identified. Tony Bennett left his heart in San Francisco. Considering the number of times he left it there, you'd think that somebody would put a reminder thing on his watch, right? Could he sing anything else? Sure they could. But they wanted that song. Why? That's his signature. That's the bell. Every single brand that you know, every single product identity that you adopt. You know, if you're the person who wears the whatever, the D&G, the XYZ, how annoyed are you when they change it? Oh my God, they're not doing that anymore? Why not? I really like that. People don't like it when you change your brand because it feels like you broke up with them. You know what the most difficult transition in my career has been? Is not cartoon voices and narrating documentaries. It's not morning drive radio, although 5 a.m. It's not morning drive radio and late night one-woman shows. No. The most difficult transition in my career is figuring out how to give people permission to love a character I played a long time ago and give me permission and be excited to get to know the woman who created the character. There are no words to say how astonished, delighted, horrified, kind of a mix, that the mom character from You Can't Have It on Television became such a thing. How do I give people permission to be curious about me? I don't know, maybe shoes, maybe flamingos, maybe feather boas, maybe silly ass jokes, maybe really, really good books, well researched and carefully written. Not instead of, but to let people know that mom wasn't an accident. Mom was an intention. a purpose. What was the purpose? What was my function? To give you a feeling of safety. Mom will always be mom. Always be there. Susan and I were talking about it. Mom love. What is mom love? How is it different from dad love? Mom love is nurturing and forgiving. So is dad love, but dad love is a little more go get 'em. And I know I'm being ridiculously like this when it's a vast array and mix and melange. I know that. You don't expect mom, seriously, to try to teach one of the children how to change a tire on the car. Really? You'd be a little worried. I would be a little worried if you thought mom was going to teach you a recipe and how to cook. That would be unnerving. But so mom love is the huggy stuff, the nurturing. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Here, let me kiss it better. Dad love is, come on, let's go outside and play something. Let's do stuff. That's kind of the tradition. And that's what people are looking for. So that's what she gave. It doesn't mean that I don't have it too. It just means that I have it differently. And I'm giving people slowly, gradually, over time. I joined social media in 2011. And so here it is, 2024. And I talk about coffee in the morning, and I talk about a glass of wine at night. And I talk about silly, frivolous, and twinkly earrings. And I talk about shoes and mom and the Care Bears and all kinds of stuff. And I talk about life. And every single bit of that is a navigational tool using story and character and plot and pattern and purpose to show you how to get onto the steps across the pond and reach the other side. I am the introduction to your opposites. I am the portal. I am the doorway saying, come here, let me show you something. Here you go. Would you like me to walk with you? Mind your step. That's who I am. I played many, many moms in many shows, which continues to surprise me. And yet when I take that step back and I look at it, I realize it's because what people see in me is safety. They see in me, even if it's a little surprising, even if it's the explosion of a small girl child, just taller, wearing different clothes. Even though that is how I do it, people are feeling and reading and sensing and needing that certainty, that balance in an off-kilter world. And that's what Pivotry is. Pivotry is the technique. Pivotry is where we start before we start. Pivotry is the assessment, the casting agent choice of which of our qualities is going to win that. That's Pivotry. Then we take action. Then we pivot. Then we lean in or lean out. First, we have to pick our battle, pick our weapons, pick our tools, pick our purpose, pick our team. That's Pivotry. I have done that my entire life. So I'm writing books about it. We're going to have workshops about it. And we're going to have wonderful interactive conversations about it. The interactive group is called Diamond Club. And I realized this morning, you know how people say I belong to a mastermind group? No, we're going to belong to a diamond mind group. A diamond mind group. We're going to mine for the nuggets, the diamond fragments. We're going to manufacture glittering, spectacular skills and flexibility and confidence and fun. That's what Pivotry gives you. It gives you, I'm walking here. And boy, did I need it when I was a little kid. Boy, did I need it. And it wasn't there. So I invented it. And so far, it's working. And even with the ups and downs, the downs are the lessons. Oh yeah, I'm going to trim that on that sail, and I got to lean this way for that. Good reminder. Ow. So what is coming this weekend is, the closing of birthday month. And it is the beginning of the real spring. We had a little bit of snow yesterday because Mother Nature, oh, that girl. Uh, so we're getting to a place where it's warmer and it's nicer and things are looking greener and everything's going to be amazing. So still some spring cleaning to do, taxes to file if you haven't done them already. So we're going to have a weekend ahead of us full of stuff. Take away from this, please, I ask you, you're not alone. We're all in this together. If they can't hear you, if they're not paying attention, find out why. What's going on with them? What did we accidentally do that distracted them or confused them? Are they okay? Have they had time to take off their shoes, change out of their uniform, and sit down and say, oh, thank you? Everybody isn't in the tent with us facing the same way. We have to remember that. And the number of people who are challenged and struggling with stuff and don't know what to say and don't know what to do, if they're not saying, hey, how's it going? It's not because they don't like you. It's because they've got their hands full. And maybe they need a hug from you before you say, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. Oh, Daddy, I have this great idea. Maybe they need a hug first. It's worth a try. Okay, time to go. I keep trying to make this less than an hour, and it seemed to just kind of swirl itself up. I apologize if it inconveniences you. Secretly, I love it, and you know that too. So the drill is this. Be good to you. Listen to you. Listen to the parts of you that are saying, hey, and remember to hug your loved ones. They deserve it too. Okay? Thank you for watching. Thank you for making this a thing. Thank you for the keep going. Thank you for the comments. Patrick. Oh boy, taxes, such a joy. It's like, why do I keep hitting myself with a hammer? Because it feels so good when it stops. Yeah. Never mind. This too shall pass. We'll get it done. It'll be good. Okay? Thank you. Catch you next time.